It is a lifelong journey. It's not found in one course, one program, one manifestation meditation. Like, it is a lifelong journey, and we're never done. We never just suddenly arrive at the end of the truth of who we came here to be, and then we're just set for life. Like, this gets to be a journey. It gets to be an adventure. It gets to be a continuous discovery process.
We're back, baby, with a brand new season of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. Join us each week as we have unfiltered conversations about how to transform your life. Our mission is to usher in a new era of spirituality where you don't have to be all love and light to live a life of alignment. Here, we honor all of it, the profound and the profane, the magic and the messy, and all things that make you human. So let's discuss the truth behind transformation and be unapologetic in our evolution. From manifestation to money, embodiment to energy, and all taboo topics, nothing is going to be off limits. Are you ready to live a life that feels just as good as it looks? Let's get fucking spiritual. Hey, what's up, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. And we've been doing a lot of solo episodes recently, and today we have a very special guest, which y'all know I'm so picky about the guests that come on this podcast. And I am so excited for who we have here today. She is a dear friend and sister of mine that I feel I have traversed many lifetimes with, done so much work with, and she actually helped me a year ago through my own dark night of the soul. And so she's very important to me and special to me, and also incredibly well-studied and educated in the realms of science and spirituality and bridging those gaps together, and somatics and embodiment and all of the things that we talk about on this show, and especially in this season, because you guys know I'm all about getting out of the head and into the body and really integrating in mind, body, and spirit. And I have her bio here, and it's such an extensive, beautiful bio that I usually don't read people's bios on the show, but I'm going to read it for you today because it's incredible. So we have Alora Rose with us today. She's amazing. She's a holistic somatic therapist, psychedelic and trauma specialist with over 20 years of training and experience in the healing arts and sciences. And here's the thing, you guys. Allura, when I met her, I was just blown away by her amount of knowledge, which is why I'm so excited for us to get to chat with her today and for you to receive her wisdom and her knowledge. And my intention and what I think will come out of this for you today is clicking so many things in place. So if you've listened to all the podcasts, maybe you listen to this podcast and you kind of, you hear different things. What I think Allura is really good at is bridging the gap and helping you to understand how they all integrate and work together. So I have no doubt that you are going to walk away with a lot of educational pieces and tools. And yeah, wow, Allura, you're amazing. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I was like, I started reading it, and now let's just hear it from you. I want to hear it from you. Who you are and what you do, because it's really profound and beautiful. And I've had the privilege of experiencing it myself in your containers, and also being your friend. So yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm so honored, so grateful to be here. And just really excited to dive in and let everything flow, everything come through. And I'm Alora Rose. I am a holistic somatic therapist. Really a multidisciplinary, multidimensional healer. I do have a lot of training and education and credentials and certifications, and
more than like anyone I know.
A little bit of a certification junkie. But I've also, just lived a really, really full life in the 41 years that I've been on this planet, and have really also kind of gone into the depths of all the lifetimes I've lived before this one. And I am really in this place of integrating so much, not only education and training, but just wisdom and lived experience, and really in this beautiful part of my journey where I've taken myself through such deep alchemical portals and death rebirth processes, and am at a point in my career and just in my embodiment where I'm just so excited and grateful and honored to be holding other people through that journey and through that process.
Yeah.
And what we explored when we first met was also so profound and important and healing for me as well. And so just really excited to use that as an anchor point for everything that has emerged from that experience and all that we've learned, and just kind of having it's really interesting to recognize the parallel journeys that we've been on in this last year without really even knowing that was happening.
So wild.
Often like meeting each other in the dream space and then this like
so
psychic connection.
Yeah, we have dreams about each other all the time. So we're doing things in the astral realm, you guys. Sure. And oh my gosh, there's so many different places that I could take this, and it makes me so excited. And I want to first touch on something that you just said before we go into the story of how we met, because I also want to share that with them. But you just touched on not just having all the certifications. And I think the reason I'm sharing this is because everyone listening to this, I want you to hear this and take this in, especially when you're listening to people in this space. It's not just about having the certifications or being able to check the boxes or being able to speak the language. It's about who's walking the walk and who has integrity, of who's actually really doing this deep alchemical work for themselves. And I see you as such a steward of this work and somebody who deeply walks the walk and embodies it. You can literally see it. I mean, you age backwards. I can't believe you're 41 years old, and I just think it's really powerful. And it's really important to me to speak that on this show, because I think for me, I know I'm one of those people that also does that. I will traverse the darkness and I will go deep into the depths and I will alchemize the things. And I mean, we've literally gone in portals together and done that. And it's just really, really important to me to always highlight that. And I love that you shared it. It's like, I'm not just speaking from the certifications I've done. I'm actually speaking from the embodied wisdom of living this life and doing this work and walking it from the inside out. And it's just so, so important. So thank you for touching on that too. And I want to share the story of how we met, because it's really beautiful. And you actually clicked a really amazing piece for me that liberated me in my journey, and also really helped me to anchor in my own somatic repatterning. And I think what I really want to talk about on this show is, for the listeners, of what you can kind of expect, is like really talking about the importance of somatic embodiment and the importance of like not just healing in your mind and healing in journaling and healing in saying the affirmations and doing the very standard self-development things. I think you're a really good person of being able to have this conversation with and ask, so that people can really begin to understand why so much of our trauma and our patterning and our habitual things that we do over and over actually live in the body, and like no amount of journaling we're gonna do is gonna get us out of that. And so I want to touch on that, but before we do, I want to share the importance of what you helped me with a year ago, and backstory. And I know you know this backstory, but for those listening, if you guys were here in season 1, if you go back, gosh, it would be almost 2 years ago now. September 2022. And I didn't think I was going to bring this up on the show, but fuck it, we're going to do it. Okay. So September of 2022, I did an episode, I think called I Thought I Was Going to Die. And I recorded it a few days or about a week after this had happened. I was in the middle of a launch, which is just crazy to me that I still went through with the launch after this. But I had something happen in my body and my brain where I had what I thought was a stroke. And it was a terrifying night for me. I told the story on this episode, and I was on the phone with this doctor, who it was my friend. The friend that I was with, her father happened to be a stroke doctor. Something happened in my brain, right? And my brain was getting intercepted with random words. I couldn't speak, but I was fully coherent. I knew what was happening. And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm having a stroke or an aneurysm. It was so scary. I was camping at the time. It was in the middle of the night. And I couldn't get out. So I had to literally surrender on the side of the road and thought, I'm going to die. And it was a profound moment for me because in that moment when I laid down on the side of the road, I had to fully surrender to what was. And the only thought I had was get my work out in the world. And I typed that to my friends. You know, if I pass here, like I did good. Like I feel good with what I've done. I'm obviously don't want this to be over. And if it is, I did good. And it was a really profound moment for me. And I ended up in the hospital. They did all these tests, but by the time I was already out of it, like it was like 3 hours out and of this happening. So I think at that point I knew like I would probably live and be okay. But my brain started to come back online. And by the time they did the scans, they were like, you didn't have a stroke. And the man that I was on the phone with was like, you were fully having a stroke. Like I was talking to you. I'm a stroke doctor. You were having a stroke. And so they couldn't find any evidence. I'm like, what is happening? Enter in. And if you're new here and you just are tuning into season 2 and you're like, well, Rachel, what the fuck? Go back and listen to that episode. It was where I was at the time. And this is an important backstory for Allura and I's friendship, sisterhood, traversing lifetime soul journey together. And after that day, I never did another podcast on it, but what I had been dealing with behind the scenes, which I've never shared before, is after that day, I was never the same. And I was going to doctors, I was going to neurologists, I didn't understand. Everybody was like, you're healthy, you're fine, you're fine. I'm like, I am feeling energy now. And all of a sudden I'm going to sleep, and every time I'm falling asleep, I'm getting full body electrical shocks up my spine. And I'm like thinking I'm dying now. I'm not trusting my body because something really profound happened to my brain that night and I never knew what it was. And I'm like being able to feel and sense energies. I'm sensing like different feelings in my body. I'm going to a cardiologist. So I'm dealing with this all of last year. Mind you, I paused the podcast. Nobody knows that this is what I'm going through, but I'm going through all of this like really intense physical symptom and sensations. And it's causing me some pretty extreme health anxiety at the time. And I'm not correlating it to the fact that it happened that night. Or it happened starting after that night. I just was like, something is different. And I was I moved to Austin. I'm starting to be able to sense people's energies. I'm suddenly in these shamanic spaces. I'm sensing when the spaces are clean and when the spaces are not clean. And anyway, I had this really, really big event that happened in May with, I'm not going to go into it, but I was in a space that was not clean. And just had a really intense journey, and no plant medicine, none of that. It was completely sober, but I had a full on feel like psychedelic journey. And I'm calling in, I need some type of like medicine woman, I want someone to come into my life and like help me with whatever I just went through, because I can't make sense of anything right now. And I'm deciding to leave an entire community because of this, right? And in walks Alora Rose, divinely guided into my life, literally within like a day.
Show her secret.
Within like a day, in walks Allura into my life. And you and I had seen a lot of similar things inside of this industry and what we were going through. And I was like, you know, going through this health thing, I'm thinking it's entirely unrelated to just what happened. And you and I are like, okay, I decided I would love to come into your space and I would love to do a ceremony with you. I feel really safe. You were putting language to things that I didn't understand. And I said, hey, before we drop into this ceremony, I want to tell you something that happened in my brain 9 months ago. And do you remember what you said?
It's like, honey, it's a Kundalini awakening, of course.
I know. You were like, yeah, so your brain was intercepting you with random words. I'm like, yeah, I thought I was having a stroke. And you were like, yeah. And like, you felt like, you know, your whole body's like lit up and because everything went rainbow in my brain. And then it came back. And had I been listening to this, I just want to preface, had I been listening to this a couple of years ago, I've been like, this is bullshit. Like, what are they talking about? Like, what? Oh no. Right. You know, now where I'm at in my life,
and I mean,
not.
You know, and like we come like I also have a very sciencey grounded, like I need to understand neurologically, neurochemically, physiologically what is going on in the biological system. And so, you know, I know that this is like this rush of cerebral spinal fluid, and it's part of a process that has a very cosmic, mystical, energetic, you know, death, rebirth result and experience. But, you know, I think being able to ground it in what was going on the biological level was kind of the first touch point in us, you know, being able to jump into that conversation and then take it. You know,
so beautiful. And it was so liberating. And you looked at me and you were the first person ever. Every doctor had been like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like that doesn't, and I'm going to Western medicine doctors and they're like, everything structurally is fine. You're good. I'm like, something happened to me. And that's like so scary, right? Because then you don't trust your body, or at least I didn't trust my body. And then you look at me and you're like, that happened to me too. And I'm like, oh, what?
Multiple times.
Yeah. I'm like, what? And you're like, yeah. And your brain's like intercepting you with random words and like something's happening and restructuring. And you just looked at me and said, Rachel, you had a Kundalini awakening. And my whole body lit, I'm getting chills talking about it, lit up in chills. I think I started bawling like at that moment because I knew to the depths of my soul that was true. Yeah. And I suddenly felt safe for the first time in 9 months at that point. And then we went on a journey together. And then this entire last year has been grounding that energy for me through somatic work, which is what I want to talk about today. And what I know that you're so beautiful in facilitating and creating, and why that's so important. And I wanted to share that story just for the background of like how we met and the important role that you played in my own understanding of my journey and my spiritual journey and my own becoming. And also, I would love to hear you touch on too, like for anybody that might be, maybe didn't experience the brain thing like I did. I think that was pretty like extreme, but that might be noticing suddenly that they're sensitive to more energy, or and what I find too is as you awaken on this path, and I'd love to hear you speak to this, as we get rid of the gunk and the muck that's in the way of our true essence and true self, right? Maybe that's self-sabotaging patterns. Maybe that's habits. Maybe that's drinking. Maybe that's overeating. Maybe that's like eating all of the crap and processed foods. Maybe that's bad habits, like whatever that is, right? All of the muck and gunk that keeps us from being ourselves. The more that we upgrade, I think, in our mind and body, the more sensitive our being is to energies, to crowds. I used to be able to go party at raves and in crowds and drink like a decade ago, you know, but like when I used to be that version of me. Now for a year, I could barely even go in crowds after this happened. And so I would love to like speak to, if anybody is noticing that like who they want to be around is changing, could you speak to that for us? And if you had an experience of that in your own life, I'd love to hear.
Oh. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I think the first thing I want to say is around this discussion or process of a Kundalini awakening, everyone that goes through this or goes through an awakening journey, awakening process, experiences it completely uniquely and it's different. And like yours was a very like rapid, full force kind of very disruptive. And, you know, and I'm the same. I'm very much like a creature of extremes, and I have to like go from one end of the spectrum to the other to really grok this life experience. And you know, that kind of awakening can be massively disruptive. And, you know, and that's a lot of what you were experiencing. And then the aftermath of, you know, whether it's one big, you know, kind of cataclysmic experience, or it's a succession of clearings and recalibrations and adjustments. And, you know, the way I really experience and perceive it is layers of the false self, layers of our conditioned self, layers of the programming, the learned behaviors, the nervous system patterning that creates a certain type of human architecture that allows us to operate in standard society, in the industrialized school system, in the industrialized medical system, in corporate settings, in big crowds, in, typically very overstimulating environments. As those layers start to clear on a somatic, kind of energetic, physiological level, because our natural life force energy, our Kundalini energy, is flowing and recirculating and healing our cells. It's healing our being and really returning us to our original state template. The way I like to refer to it is our divine DNA, like the DNA, the being, the structure of our human vessel in its most pristine, unconditioned, untraumatized state. And, so as we get clearer, as we return to our aligned embodiment, things that are out of accordance with that state of being, environments, energies, peoples that are at a vibrational level that is really just not conducive to human thriving, become very apparent. It's very felt. There's an energetic mismatch. And that aspect of it also can be extremely challenging and disrupting to the way that we have constructed our life, consciously or unconsciously, prior to that. And there's a big journey that is that we're invited into with that experience of restructuring not only our physical bodies, our energy bodies, our mental, emotional bodies through work like somatic therapy, and all of the elements that complement it and support it, but what that requires us to adjust in the way that we're living our lives is challenging and a big initiation. But I think, as we can both report, is the greatest blessing and the biggest gift to be living this life that I now know is in alignment with truth, is in alignment with source, in alignment with the way that human beings are actually designed to live and meant to live and have the opportunity to be in. I think that's what we are both way showers in, and that's why we've been initiated into the experiences that we have, and in kind of such forceful, extreme ways, so that we can really be catapulted through it expeditiously and in a way that provides such a stark contrast of before and after to really show people, like, this is possible and this is the way.
Briefly interrupting this episode to share with you my new group coaching program called Expand. If you are someone who has done all of the courses, the programs, you've listened to the podcast, you consider yourself a very self-aware person, you have journaled, you know your limiting beliefs, you've tried the affirmations, you've done all the things, and yet you're wondering, why do I still feel like I have so much potential? I'm so self-aware, and yet I'm still stuck. If this is you, I created this program for people exactly like you, because I was one of you at one point. I had tried all of the different tools and techniques, and it wasn't until I found somatic embodiment and nervous system regulation that I was able to actually unlock the tools and the wisdom of my body. And that's what I'm going to be teaching you in this program. I will be taking you through my 6-part process to learn how to regulate the nervous system, to somatically process and feel your emotions so they're no longer keeping you stuck, learning how to reparent the different parts of yourself, and eventually rewire and repattern your behaviors and your beliefs so that you can actually rise into your greatness. We had 63 women in the last round, and it was amazing. So if you are desiring the level of transformation that these women had, which you can check out on the landing page in the show notes below, then I invite you to join us. We are actively enrolling now. We start at the end of July. And if you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram at Rachel Gibler, and I'm happy to chat with you and talk it through. Now back to the episode. Oh my gosh. Everything you say, I'm like, yeah, yes. And what I hear in that too is, like, you have to be willing to die. You have to be willing to die to yourself
Completely.
over and over and over if you're choosing to walk this path. And it is excruciating and it is hard and it is challenging. And I know your story of even in your 3D realm being willing to die, and how, I'm even thinking of somebody listening to this, like if you feel called to walk this path, like you're tuning into this podcast for a reason, right? And you're listening to this for a reason, and it's because your soul is calling you to a deeper transformation. And when our soul is calling us, we have to be willing to die to our old self. And that also looks like not just willing to die in who we are and who we be and the thoughts that we think and the patterns that we have, but also the way our 3D life looks. And I know you changed your life from living, if you want to share.
Yeah, I mean, I've changed and died and been reborn and reinvented myself so many times in this one lifetime that sometimes I look back and I'm like, how did I actually do all of that in this many years? It's pretty unfathomable. And I also have an awareness that this is just what my soul came here to experience. She really likes this process of reinventing herself, of, learning at the deepest levels. And really, inside of all of that, I acknowledge that, I go through these cycles and these journeys and these initiations to continue to prove to myself how completely, profoundly powerful I am. How I am the sole creator of this experience, that I get to choose what this life looks like. And I get to choose, to rediscover what I'm truly made of. And, this conversation around like the death rebirth process, it can feel so big and so scary. We've really, like, so many of the things that we're speaking to, like we've really pathologized and demonized this concept of death, and we've really pathologized
In our society,
and pathologized so many of these big cataclysmic, sort of earth-shattering, what a lot of the Western medical model deems as like emotional mental health crises or emotional breakdowns. But if we choose to perceive them from a more empowered place, there are actually profound opportunities to really deconstruct what is not true, what is not in alignment for us, and get back to the core of who we are and who we're always meant to be, who we came into this incarnation as, like the beautiful beings that we were at like 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, that knew exactly what they were doing, how to do it. And, that's really so much of what this journey is giving us the opportunity to return to. And in my experience, and, in all of my my mountains of training, doing that through the vehicle of the body, through the quantum technology of the body, is the way in, is the way through, is the way out.
Okay, so I want to talk to this for a moment. And I think just like, because I feel like we kind of like dove right in, and really essentially like what Allura is speaking to and what I want people to understand. And if you're listening to this right now, it's like, okay, I am feeling called for a bigger life. I'm feeling called, I'm feeling pulled to something greater. What am I going to have to do in order, like, who am I going to have to be? What does that look like? I think a lot of people listen to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid, like, of what's on the other side of that. And it's like, we have to be willing to die to ourselves currently. Like, we have to be willing to strip everything away. When you do begin to strip everything away and you start to return to your natural state, and this is what I'm hearing you say, is like, when we return to our natural state of the 3, 4, 5, 6, like that version of us that was so lit up and fully alive. And that's what I talk about on this show all the time. It's like, when we do that, we're going to become so much more sensitive to our environment. We're going to be so much more sensitive to the people and the energies that we allow in our system and around. And so if somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going through, know that it's okay. We've both been through it. We both consistently go through it. And there is so much beauty on the other side. And that's what I'm hearing you say. And so if somebody is wanting to return to their true essence, maybe they're wanting to feel so lit up in their expression, want to like wake up feeling so full and excited, and in the 3D realm have community that they love, have a partnership that they love, be able to express themselves through business or through like all of that comes, what I've found, on the heels of learning how to return back into the true self. And I told you guys I was going to get to this. When we listen or when we listen to all of the teachings that are like, just start in the mind, journal what you want, like, connect to the feeling of having it. And people don't really understand like what that actually means. And just saying affirmations and future scripting, great practice. Like, yeah, we got to decide what we want. Wonderful. And it's not the full piece of the puzzle. Right? It's not actually the thing that clicks that into place and allows you to become a different level of embodiment. And so I know that this is the work that you do, and I would love for you to explain why that is and why we can't just do it in the mind, but why we have to go through the body. Yeah. And for someone listening to this, like for them to start to understand like why somatic embodiment work is actually the way of, and the next wave, I think, of people really understanding like how to actually embody this version of me.
Yeah, beautiful. And I mean, this is such a big conversation, and there's so many layers of it. So, I think the first thing I want to say is that the mindset work and the practices, like our mind is very powerful and very necessary, and we need to make friends with it and learn how to be in allyship with it. But this is kind of this cart before the horse phenomenon. Like the mindset work comes after, like way further down the road than we think. Yeah. We're getting things a little out of order in this process. So the way that this really works in my understanding, in my experience, in my training, the body actually holds inside of it all of the wisdom and information that we need to come into the truth of our higher selves, into our intuitive guidance system, our intuitive wisdom. And this process of deconstructing, reconstructing our lives after or in the midst of going through an awakening process, it can seem so big, so monumental. But when we're coming at it from the place of our inner resource, our inner the inner script that's really already there for you, you don't have to go find it. You came into this body with it, with everything that you need to know to guide and direct your life. So when you get into a process where you learn to listen to the wisdom that exists within your body, it actually becomes so much easier because there is no seeking outside of yourself. There's no application of somebody else's roadmap for your life. And I think that's what so much of the mindset and manifestation and vision boarding and visioning work kind of can take us down a path that is not actually in alignment with our truth, with the natural guidance system, the way that we're designed to navigate this life, this existence. When we're coming at it from the mind first, we're often following somebody else's vision. And trust me, I've done this countless times. And I'm like, I made it work. Like, it looks great from the outside. I have all the things, like super,
got the house, had the launch.
Checked all the boxes, like, top of the class, A+, but it was with somebody else's template. It wasn't actually mine. And so it felt completely off. It felt all wrong. Like, and that cognitive dissonance was so fragmenting for my experience, like seeing how it should feel like success. It should feel like I've made it. Like I should feel like I'm living my best life and thriving, but I feel absolutely empty and completely disconnected from the truth of my soul, the truth of my essence. I'm not actually embodied in my life.
Yeah.
And so the process of working kind of backwards by way of the body, first we need to clear out everything that's in the way of our truth. And a lot of that is bound in the nervous system and kind of how that reverberates into our energy body and therefore our mental and emotional bodies, how this all gets translated in the way that we're thinking, the way that we're feeling, and how that's directing our lives.
Yeah.
So once kind of the templates, the energies, the stuck traumas of being out of alignment, not following our truth inside of these experiences that the body holds on to as traumas, as that gets cleared away, what now has the space to emerge is like this magical scroll of everything that is already pre-written, predestined for your highest embodiment, for the determination of your fullest expression. And inside of the process that I take people through, so much of what we are doing is dropping into their divine channel, and the way that comes through, the way that the body actually speaks to us in its unique language and its unique metaphors and translation systems that are exactly designed for you, and the way that you've been constructed, what you've experienced in this life, to perceive and understand that and use that information to then architect your 3D reality. It's so magical, so profoundly beautiful, and so much fun actually to develop a relationship with the being of your body that is like this living, breathing, walking, sensing, squishy, ecstatic, akashic record, library that, really has for you everything that, unfortunately, through our conditioning, through our programming, we've been trained to seek outside of ourselves for.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, to all of this. And also to bring this, like, if into like somebody listening to this, right? And what I'm hearing you say that I'd love to repeat back is we came here with all of the wisdom that we need. And we're trained to look outside of ourselves for it. And we get disconnected from it through the traumas that we experience over our lives, through the cultural conditioning, through the conditioning of our family, through, we're told even just what people would relate to of like, I'm not enough. I can't do this. I'm not capable. Like, we have all of these programs that run, and that ends up getting coded into the body in a way, and we get to clear those things out, because when those are in the way, it's like the muck and the gunk that keeps us from being able to actually be connected into our body's wisdom, which is our divine intelligence, which is our intuition, which is our understanding. And then when we have all of that cleared through somatic work, through nervous system work, as that clears out, what we're left with is the truth of our soul, is the truth of what is meant to be expressed through us. And then it becomes ease, and then it becomes flow, because that's who we naturally are. So I want to make sure I'm hearing that correctly.
Right on. Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And so how does someone start to listen to their body's wisdom if their entire life they've been disconnected from it? What does that even look like? Yeah. How does it emerge?
Yeah. Yeah. And, and I think what I want to say first to that is it is a lifelong journey. It's not found in one course, one program, one manifestation meditation. Like, it is a lifelong journey, and we're never done. We never just suddenly arrive at the end of the truth of who we came here to be, and then we're just set for life. Like, this gets to be a journey. It gets to be an adventure. It gets to be a continuous discovery process. And like, what a profound blessing and gift. And that's something that I would really love to continue reframing and encouraging everybody to adapt to and adopt. That's what this human experience is all about. And the next thing I'll share around that is the first step is really following your curiosity, following what you're guided to explore next. Like, you don't need to know the whole year roadmap, everything that you're going to do all the way down, down the line. Like, what is calling to you next? That curiosity will open a door. It will adjust the energetic vibration. It will adjust your cellular makeup just enough to open another door, and then another, and then another. And, your particular journey, your particular roadmap is designed specifically for you. And everybody's looks completely unique. And so we get to tune in to simply our desire, our curiosity, what vibrates for us, who vibrates for us. And I think that's oftentimes kind of the first step. It's not typically found in some pre-packaged structure or program or certification or framework or book. And trust me, I've read and studied and tried that road many times, thinking the answers were found in the next set of information that I could lock in and acquire. It was really when I transitioned to, like, who is my body called to being near and being with and, like, calibrating to. There's this really magical aspect of an energetic transmission. So sometimes, we don't even need to necessarily go through somebody's full program or, come and be with somebody in person. Just being in their field, their energetic space, attuning our awareness to a new way of being and operating and vibrating is an initial entry point into how everything in our system is going to start to adjust thereafter and direct us into, again, like, the next right step. We don't need to know, and we're not supposed to know what's going to happen. We can't possibly conceive what's going to happen or where this journey is going to take us, even a few months from now. What my reality is right now, I could have not at all predicted or designed or even conceived of 1 year ago. And if I would have tried, I would have stunted the process. I would have taken myself in a direction that, was selling myself short ultimately. So all we really need is the next right step. Be in the transmission of what is calling to you to simply expose your being to, and allow that to guide you, allow that intuitive wisdom to lead you down the path that your higher self has already constructed.
If you feel deeply connected to this episode, if you are ready to step into the expanded version of you, if you are ready to learn how to reparent your inner child and repattern the ways that you show up in the world, I'm so excited to officially announce and invite you to my upcoming in-person retreat in Austin, Texas, in August 22nd to 26th. There are 2 different style tickets with 2 very different price points. So I really tried to cater to everyone to make it accessible for you to come. Check it out in the show notes. We have a VIP that comes, stays in the house, has all meals included. We're all staying together. And then there's also an immersion style where you come to the location every single day. And I cannot wait to be in person with all of you, to get to heal together. There's so much that you can do and collapse time when you are held in sisterhood for 3 to 4 days and allow yourself the space and time to really go into your inner wounding, go into your blocks, go into the things that are holding you back and learn to actually somatically repattern them in your nervous system. That is what we are going to be doing at this retreat so that you can plug back into the true you of who you really are and leave as the expanded woman that you know that you were meant to be. And it's called the Expanded Women Retreat. I didn't say that. But anyway, if you are feeling called to join us, tickets officially went live. So go check that out in the show notes. And hopefully I will get to meet you and give you a huge hug in August. Again, I love how you speak because it's so eloquent and it's so embodied and you have such language in a way that I've never gotten to see or receive from other people. Like that's why I love having conversations with you because I'm like, yes, I get it. And I also like to bring it even down to just like someone listening to this, like step one, start to follow your curiosity. Like if you want to get more in touch with your body's wisdom, we have to get quiet enough, I think, to listen to it. And then start to feel something that I always ask myself and that I share on the podcast is, does this feel expansive to me? Mm-hmm. Right? Does my body, even if it feels scary, right? Like, does it feel expansive? Is there something on the other side of that for me? Okay. And like getting curious about it. And then what I'm hearing you say too is like being in the energetic transmission. And I know we use this language so much in our like friend group and like people that we talk to, but all that simply is like being in someone's energy and getting to receive their wisdom and seeing how they be and seeing how they're embodied, even tuning into this podcast, right? It's like you are getting the transmission of Allura, of me, of receiving the wisdom in exactly the way that you say it, in the languaging in which you say it, in the energy in which you say it. And that opens a door, right? And that opens an awareness, that opens your perception to something that maybe you didn't perceive of before, or it lands in a different way. And that's the power of creating podcasts, listening to podcasts, being in different spaces that you feel called to, that feel aligned, right? Not giving your power away, but also, but allowing yourself to open to newness, to open to a different way of perceiving and allowing it to land in your body and like continuing to follow it and follow it and follow it. And I love that. I think that's really beautiful. And what would you say to somebody that they're like, okay, I have a curiosity or I have a knowing that I need to do something. And sometimes the knowings can be a whisper and then the whisper gets louder, right? Say you're on this journey and you're realizing that what was once in alignment is no longer in alignment and that whisper is getting louder. You're energetically becoming more sensitive to the people around you. And maybe that looks like in the form of, oh, this relationship maybe isn't right for me, or, oh, this, and which I know you've gone through blowing up your life too, as have I, right, in different times. But somebody's like, okay, I know that I need to follow this knowing or this curiosity, but I'm scared and my body doesn't feel safe. What would you say to somebody that's going through that?
Yeah. And yes, as somebody who has had many, many whispers that have turned into screams, that have turned into, complete physical, emotional, mental, full system shatterings. Listen to your whispers and act on them as soon as possible, and receive support in that. I was also somebody who tried to do so much completely on my own and tried to do so much just through my own intellect and like academic prowess and like, oh, if I can learn this information, I'll be okay and I'll be safe and I'll know how to do it on my own. Receiving support, even if it's just in the form of transmission and receiving the light of somebody else's journey and walk through this life is so essential. We're not meant to do any of this alone. We're meant to walk this path together. We're meant to continue to recalibrate and rebalance each other and and be guideposts for one another at different points along the journey. And it is scary. It is scary to listen to ourselves. It's scary to act on things that we deep down know to be true in our gut, in our heart, but our mind wants to convince us otherwise, because our mind, our ego, our protector parts are really trying to keep us safe. Mm-hmm. But that safety is really based on false structures, on programming, on lies, on things that are going to keep us stuck and going to keep us in a situation where those whispers will eventually turn into screams. And it's so much easier to start reorienting your life from the place of the whisper, and it's just doing these incremental adjustments versus having to go through a complete full system shattering and collapse and cataclysmic destruction of every aspect of your life and rebuild from scratch. I mean, it's all perfect, and grateful for my many experiences in that process. And again, I know that I was initiated into those experiences and continued to have the opportunity to relearn how powerful I am and how capable I am through those journeys, and know without a shadow of a doubt that I now have the embodiment to hold somebody else's hand as they walk through those fires. And I know that I was placed here for that. And I know that I am also in this position now to really support people in knowing how to listen to those whispers and follow the truth of their soul, and create their lives from a place of truth and alignment so much sooner and faster and seamlessly, and with so much more ease and grace and pleasure than they could have imagined possible.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So for someone that's willing to walk the path of somatic embodiment of nervous system, what's possible on the other side?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost unbelievable sometimes to really track what has changed and how quickly that has happened, and in a way that actually doesn't make logical sense. It doesn't make sense on paper or in pictures. But what I've experienced, and what so many people I've worked with and I know who have really gone fully into this process in this way have experienced, is this concept of aging in reverse. Like the DNA awakens and transforms, and your body regenerates and repairs and heals itself at a rate and with an efficiency and ease that medical science probably can't really explain. The clarity of ability to make decisions from a place of alignment and embodiment, there's just a knowingness. There's no more wavering. There's no more questioning. There's no more pros and cons list. There's no more like having to verify this through anyone else's lens. You know, and you know instantly, and you practice that over and over again. It gets faster and easier. There's also this experience of being, and energetically plugged into a frequency, into a dimensional field where it is this journey into a heaven on earth reality, where you're around human beings and in communities and have access to opportunities and resources, and like the red carpet of reality just starts to roll out for you because you are vibrationally attuned to a reality that is clear and free of the encumberments of the programming, of the dis-ease, of the trauma, of the density that so many of us have experienced, that, we are, I think, as a collective and as a species, starting to evolve past and through. And, from that place, realizing truly that anything actually is possible. What we have the opportunity to create and experience from a place of being fully connected to and embodying our higher selves, from embodying the divine being, the divine creator that is us. I mean, it's truly magic, and it's a true gift, and that's, I really know and believe what we all have the opportunity and the capacity to experience here. And it's a beautiful walk, and I'm so grateful that so many of us are starting to find each other so that we can do it together.
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful. So well put. And I think both my life and your life is a testament to what happens when you walk the path. It's insane, the transformation that I've experienced in my own life, and who is in my life now as a result of that. And I did not have that before. I mean, I think 7 years ago was when I started this work, and I was in the depths of despair and destruction and drinking and in a job I hated, and only had, people who partied around me, didn't have a network of friends, didn't have people who expanded me. And now from walking this path, first through mindset and kind of force and pushing, and the second part of my path through deep embodiment, deep connection spiritually with myself, now to look around and realize that, all of my friends are people who expand me massively. And, these are our conversations on a Friday night at parties that I have at my house. And it really is crazy what can happen. And so I want to speak that into you listening to this right now. Is so much of what Allura and I are talking about. Like, we're not special at all. I came from a background of none of this. I came from a background of not having any of this in my life. And to be able to, I guess to wrap this up in a beautiful bow, it's like being willing to die to the person that you are, being willing to follow your curiosity in following what lights you up, following what expands you, doing the thing that's scary, even when it's hard. And if you choose to walk this path of alignment with your soul, which is what this is, you have to be willing to walk through the fire. You have to be willing to jump off the cliff. You have to be willing to do the thing that's scary in the 3D reality, and trust that your soul knows, trust your body's wisdom, trust that you can come back home to yourself. Realize that there's so much possibility. If you're sitting here listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I know that there's something bigger for me on the other side in my life. I can feel that my soul is so much bigger than the reality in which I'm allowing myself to operate in. It's so much bigger than the way that I treat my body. It's so much bigger than the communities that I'm in right now. If you feel that in your soul, know that it's true, and take this podcast as a sign, and myself and you as an example of actually what is possible when we are willing to do those things. And no, it's not an easy walk. Certainly hasn't been an easy walk for me, but it's certainly been fulfilling and empowering. And I couldn't imagine doing anything else with my life. And you will get there. There is no place to arrive. However, you will arrive at the red carpet of life and still have all the ups and downs and all the things. But I think from the vantage point at which I sit, and I think I can speak for you too, in the place that you sit, it's like where we are now in our lives and who we're surrounded by, and the level of depth and self-trust and self-knowing. It's palpable and it's beautiful. And it's really amazing that we get to walk this path together and get to have these conversations and bring that possibility to more people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love you so much.
I love you so much. So grateful for you.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And to have sisterhood like this, and to be around people that that lift you up and empower you. I think it's possible for every single person.
Absolutely. And all we have to do truly is choose it.
Yeah.
All you have to do is choose it. And I promise you, the universe, God, your higher self, your angels, whoever, whatever, wherever will come in to support you.
Yeah.
All you have to do is choose, and it gets to be beautiful. It gets to be magical. It is full spectrum for sure.
Yeah.
But for every low, for every depth, for every darkness that we endure, that we touch and taste, there is an equal and opposite light and beauty and just magical existence on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And, we just get to continue recognizing that we have the capacity to hold it all.
Yeah.
And to feel it all and to be alongside one another in that.
So beautiful. Yes, we do. And maybe you'll have a Kundalini awakening and then, set the intention to find a medicine woman and she'll walk right into your life in perfect timing because the universe always provides. Always. And, maybe it'll be dramatic and one day you'll tell a podcast about it.
There's so many amazing stories to tell.
So many. Allura, thank you so much for being here with us today. Where can everyone find you? How can they work with you, connect with you, all the things?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so such a true honor to be here with you. And people right now can find me. The best place is on Instagram at I am Alora Rose. In the middle of a website rebrand, build, and all the things as we do. But yeah, that's the best place to connect at this moment. And currently, my practice is primarily one-on-one, pretty deep, extensive 4 to 5 month containers. But yeah, there's a variety of options that are rolling out, and mostly, just really, really excited and interested in connecting and meeting more beautiful beings on this path and sharing in all the resources that we have accumulated along the way, and just continuing to be a lighthouse and a support system and a fellow journeyer in this life. Yeah.
Amen to that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, we will put everything in the show notes for you to connect with Allura. She's incredible. I've worked with her myself. And you've totally changed my life in so many ways. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And to everyone listening, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. I am so glad that you're here. And if this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share this with a friend that you feel needs to hear it. And if you are really feeling the love and support for this show, this podcast thrives off of your listens and your reviews. So I would love if you could leave us an honest review. We would love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your questions, and it helps us get this podcast in the hands of more people and would mean so much to me to receive your support. So thank you.